Potter.
Scotty B going to work in the paint.
Eastern Conference Final. New NBA champion. And it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We the North are now we the champions.
What is going on, Raptors Nation? It is Luca here back with the Raptors Nation podcast. Hope you're all doing well. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at Anunoby taking on Pascal Siakam as the Knicks have gone up 2-0 in their best of 7 series over the Pacers. I'm going to quickly touch on some potential free agent targets for the Toronto Raptors this offseason, and then we are going to look at the 2024 NBA Draft Lottery, which goes down this Sunday on Mother's Day. We will find out if the Raptors will keep their top 6 pick or not. It is the $1 million question. We're all looking forward to seeing what happens with that. So we're going to find out finally on Sunday. It's a weird start time. Usually it's the Tuesday. And I believe it's usually during the conference finals. But for whatever reason, the NBA decided to put it on Mother's Day this year. And we will see if that brings the Raptors good luck. So before we continue, guys, do me a solid, hit a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new for more content just like this. And also you can follow this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify. So we're first going to begin with OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam doing battle. Yes, life comes at you quickly. Who would have thought? The beginning of the season, both these guys were teammates on the Raptors. Fast forward many months later, and both of these guys are trying to be the missing piece on their team to get them over the top and try to win a championship. OG Anunoby traded to the New York Knicks. He has been stellar with that team. Pascal Siakam traded to the Indiana Pacers. And here we find ourselves in this best of 7 series. Now, the Knicks are up 2-0 after they took 2 in New York. But before we get into, how these guys have been for their respective team and the impact they've made, let's first talk about OG Anunoby, who weighed in on taking on Pascal Siakam, his former teammate. And this is per Zach Braziller of the New York Post. OG said, yeah, it'll be weird. I never played against him. He's always been my teammate, so it'll be weird. But it'll be cool, I'm sure. He's looking forward to it too. And then Siakam weighed in on going up against OG Anunoby. And this is per CBS Sports' James Herbert. Siakam saying, yeah, it's funny. We're out there on the court and it's weird. Just because I'm so used to being on the same team with him, it's a weird thing. But you kind of get used to it. That's the new reality. So you look at Siakam, since the first 2 games of the playoffs, his production has nosedived. And I mentioned this on X because I know a lot of people pro Siakam who wanted him to stay on the Raptors were coming out and saying the Raptors made a mistake. They should have extended Siakam, get him to the max. They should have never gotten rid of him. And here we are now after that 2-game outburst in the playoffs, and the real Siakam has shown up. As you look at Siakam, since his historic start to the playoffs, his scoring efficiency has nosedived. He's averaging just 15.7 points, 36.8% on free throws, 15% on threes. So I took the X and I said it then and I'll say it again now. The Raptors made the right decision when they decided to move on from Siakam and not bring him back to the max. Because in my opinion, Siakam does not move the needle and he's not a max player. And this is something I've been saying for so many years now on my personal channel to today. This has been something I've been right about. For as good as Siakam is, he's simply not the guy. He's a second, even third option, I would say. Because, look, he's the second option on this Pacers team. Now, granted, Halliburton hasn't been playing the type of, quality and hasn't been living up to the expectations that we put on him. But still, Siakam slated as the number 2, having his fair share of struggles. So the Raptors did themselves a favor, guys. I would have loved for the Raptors to trade Siakam a year earlier. Obviously, they could have gotten a lot more for him than they did, but it happened. It's in the past, and I keep saying it. Given the circumstances the Raptors faced, the best decision was to move on from Siakam, get at least something for him and not lose it for nothing, and not be in a position where you were forced to bring him back to the max contract, which would have just had this Raptors team in purgatory for the foreseeable future. So again, this is nothing on Siakam. I wish him the best. He could easily turn it around and lead this Pacers team to series win. But my point is, I'm glad the Raptors made their decision to move on from Siakam. And now Siakam, he's going to have to turn around his performance, because in order for the Pacers to get back into the series, they need Siakam in game 1 and game 2 of that Bucks series to show up. They're going to need Siakam to put forth those type of stat lines if they want any chance of coming back. And now you look at Anunoby. Well, here's the thing with Anunoby. He has been awesome for the New York Knicks. The Knicks are what, like 26-5, I want to say, with Anunoby in the lineup. I know they have not lost back-to-back games with Anunoby, so that is just mind-blowing. And I always said it, even from when the trades went down. OG Anunoby, to me, is more of a difference maker, is more of a needle mover than Pascal Siakam. And we're seeing it in real time. Look at OG in game 2. 28 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, playing unbelievable basketball. But then the thing about OG that comes up to the surface, it's like Siakam's inconsistent. He doesn't come up big in crucial moments. But the thing about OG, huge difference maker, been balling out for the Knicks, but then he gets injured. And it sucks because we don't know how severe this thing's going to be. OG Anunoby, left hamstring strain, left game 2, did not look good, hobbling off the court. Knicks had to, intentionally foul to get him out of the game because he couldn't even complete that possession. And he's out for game 3. And now, if you're a Knicks fan, you're not worried about necessarily Anunoby missing the rest of the series, because I still think the Knicks can get through this series without Anunoby up 2-0. But then you start thinking ahead. Then you start thinking, damn, if we got to go up against the Boston Celtics without OG Anunoby, we're not going to win that series, because the Knicks are not going to win that series without OG. This has been a team that has been hampered with injuries. They're already without Randall. And if OG misses an extended period of time, it sucks, because the Knicks, they feel like they're on something special here, but they need OG in that Eastern Conference final. So hopefully all it takes is a game or two for OG to get back into it. But I mean, that's the thing with OG. Plays so well, difference maker. You see what he did in game 2. He's been brilliant for the Knicks this entire playoffs, especially in the closeout game against the Sixers. The big dunk on Embiid, terrific defensively, doing a great job with that. But then he suffers an injury, and it's just like, damn, man, like this guy can't catch a break. So that's kind of been the two themes. If you want my take on things, it's like Siakam started off hot, but then showing you the inconsistent play, showing you the guy who's scared of the big moment. And we saw that a lot as Raptors fans. And then with Anunoby, can be so dynamite, especially defensively, can impact the game. And I love that he's really getting his flowers, but the injuries creep up and they linger. And here's a prime example of that. Just when you think, he's coming off an amazing game 2, it's like the injury happens out of his control, obviously, but it just dampens now kind of the Knicks' mood and how they view things moving forward. They obviously want OG back soon, and they have no control over it. They're just going to have to hope and pray he is back soon. So that's kind of been these two players, the theme for both of these two players in these playoffs. But other than that, I mean, look, as Raptors fans, you're obviously got a close eye on the series. You want to see these guys succeed. There can only be one. And I think it is going to be cool that, one of these players and their team, their new team, is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I hope OG gets back. We'll see if Siakam bounces back. We'll see if he can shut up a lot of people, including myself, in games 3 and 4, and get the Pacers back into the series, because the Pacers definitely need Siakam to play a lot better if they want to have any shot of coming back. But yeah, OG Anunoby versus Pascal Siakam. What have been your thoughts on this, guys? What have been some of your takeaways from this matchup, as we have seen the two on each other? And it's definitely been an interesting sight for Raptors fans. Obviously, these guys gracing the Raptors jerseys for so long, and now you see them in a Pacers and Knicks jersey in the second round of the playoffs with a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals on the line. All right, next we're going to look at potential free agent targets for the Toronto Raptors. And I'm going to do more of an in-depth video on this as we get closer to the nitty-gritty of the offseason. But for this one, I just simply wanted to throw some names at you prematurely here and kind of get everybody's take on things. So The Raptors, it's really going to depend what they do with Trent Jr. and Bruce Brown, which is going to dictate how much cap they actually have to work with. Because obviously the Raptors' main priority is going to be to lock up restricted free agent Emmanuel Quickley. That number is probably going to be closer to 30, definitely going to start at 25 million per year. Raptors, they're going to lock him up. I mean, I don't see any scenario where the Raptors lose quickly. So whatever the number is, the Raptors are going to match it. Raptors are going to bring back Quickly. And then outside of that, unless the Raptors decline Bruce Brown's player option and then allow Gary Trent Jr. to leave in free agency, he is an unrestricted free agent, the Raptors won't have significant cap space above the mid-level. However, things change if they end up losing both of those players and their salaries. Now, when you look at what I think the theme is going to be for this Raptors team going into this offseason, guys, and this includes the draft, which I will have a lot of draft stuff coming out once we know the Raptors picks and which they're working with, particularly that top 6 pick or not. But I think the theme for this Raptors team is going to be, we're not going to see the home run. We're not going to see the big trade. We're not going to see the big name. And Bobby Webster touched on this earlier. We're going to see more of multiple moves, I think. Instead of the 1 or 2 big splashes, we're going to see the minor moves, 6 to 8, call it, single moves that really tries to reconstruct this Raptors roster. Because I think the Raptors goal is going to be, okay, your core. You got Scotty Barnes, who you're hoping is going to continue to blossom and be that superstar. You have RJ Barry, you're hoping he can take that leap. Same with Emmanuel Quickley. Now it's going to be about putting the right puzzle pieces around those guys to complement them. And I look at this draft and offseason of being an offseason where the Raptors need to put those complementary pieces around its core to set them up for success. So I don't necessarily see a big time move. I see, smaller moves being made. And when I look at free agency in particular, I think that's going to be the theme. Now, a couple of names to throw out some names here that stand out to me. My ideal free agent, and if this was my perfect world and things went my way, the number one guy I would love to see on the Raptors is Malik Monk. And this is under the impression Gary Trent Jr. leaves in free agency. The Raptors would then replace him with Malik Monk in the starting lineup, and I think he would be a nice fit. 26 years old, shooting guard. He averaged 15.4 points, 5.1 assists in 26 minutes per game in his second season with the Kings. Shot at 44.3% from the field, 35% from 3. You want to see that number up a little bit, but you got to think too, this is a guy who shoots threes in bulk, so that number is going to naturally dip. But I think he would be a solid replacement if the Raptors decide, hey, we're not going to, entertain bringing back Gary Trent Jr. And I think this would be a nice name in the Raptors starting lineup that complements their core, is on the same timeline as the core, and he could benefit from an increased role on this team. So that is a name that I'm looking at. That would be my 1A in free agency, perfect world. I do think the Kings are going to bring him back, but hey, if there's a shot that the Raptors can make Malik Monk a reality, I'd be very inclined to that. Now, another name I could see the Raptors targeting and would be a nice addition is Isaiah Hartenstein. And we're seeing him with the Knicks. But the Knicks are going to do whatever it takes to bring him back because he's been playing really well and his values increased dramatically. But you look at Hartenstein, solid backup big, has been able to fill in nicely when needed to as a starter. I could see this guy as a backup to Pirtle or even flat out replace Pirtle if the Raptors decide they want to trade him. Averaging career highs in minutes, 25, rebounds 8.3, steals 1.1. Hartenstein started in 49 games for New York, and he's been a tremendous boost to their front court, coming off another nice performance in the playoffs against the Pacers. What did he have here? He had 14, 12, and 8. So this is probably a stretch as well because I do think the Knicks are going to do whatever it takes to bring him back. But Hartenstein would be a very, very nice addition for the Raptors. So these are basically potential free agent targets that are on my list, like guys who in my ideal world would be Raptors. So it is being a little optimistic here and hoping for the best. Okay, this is a more realistic name. I think Tyus Jones is another potential target for the Raptors. This is a guy who could serve as a backup to Manuel Quickley, because that's going to be one of the Raptors' biggest needs this offseason. They're going to need a backup guard, whether that's via the draft or in free agency. They're going to need a backup to Quickley, a reliable backup to Quickley that can eat up, minutes. So I could see Tyus Jones being a possibility here. The only problem to that is, are the Raptors going to elect to go with two small guards here? Tyus Jones on the smaller side. So that's the only thing I see maybe not, going the Raptors' way when they look at Jones as a potential target. And then another guy I want to mention here is DeAnthony Melton. And I think this would actually be a very good low-key pickup for the Raptors, because I could see him being a nice fit in Toronto, and I could see it being a low cost. I know he's coming off that injury, but, he's 25 years old, versatile defender, career 37% from three. DeAnthony Melton, I think this is a guy who the Raptors could take a chance on, get him for cheap, and it could work out well for him being a nice role player on this team. So those are just some early preliminary names that I've written down here when looking at, free agent targets for the Raptors. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more on this as we get into the summer officially. But yeah, guys, any of the names I mentioned interest you? Are there a couple of names that you're throwing out to me and saying, hey, Luca, they should go after the Raptors should go after this guy? Let me know your thoughts. Hit me up down below. And just let me know of some names that you got your eye out on when it comes to potential free agent targets for this Raptors team. All right, guys, we're going to finish up strong here by talking about the 2024 NBA Draft Lottery. I did a more detailed video on this the other day on the channel, looking at percentages and things of that nature. So basically, this is going to be a very, very important day for the Raptors, as, here are just some other numbers for all of you. The Draft Lottery is this Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be before Knicks-Pacers Game 4. The Raptors, they got a 9% chance at the number 1 pick. They got a 9.2% chance at the number 2 pick, a 9.4% chance at number 3, 9.6% chance at number 4. They can't get number 5 via draft lottery rules. And then I think they have about like an 8% chance at actually slating in at that number 6 spot. So, based on that, the Raptors, about a 45.8% chance of keeping their top 6 pick. And we know what's at stake here for the Raptors. If they fall within the top 6, they keep their pick. If it falls outside of the top 6, it's going to the San Antonio Spurs as part of compensation for the Jakob Poeltl trade. I've stated many times I want the Raptors to keep their pick this year. I think a lot of Raptors fans are now on the same page when it comes to, let's get this pick. We want to add talent now. We want complementary guys. I said it before. This is going to be a complementary summer to the core. And if you can get some nice draft picks to hit in this draft, why not have all 3 picks? The Raptors are going to have number 19. That's a given. Number 31. That's a given. Having the number 6 or better pick would be ideal for this team, because then all of a sudden you're about to add 3 young prospects to this team. That's 3 new players. That's huge. So this lottery is going to be big. The Raptors, there's a perfect dream scenario where they defy the odds, they have luck on their side, and they win this thing, and they have the number 1 overall pick. That would be crazy. There's a 9% chance of that. There's another dream scenario of the Raptors once again lucking out, moving up and getting number 4. Number 4 was lucky to them on several occasions, when they drafted Chris Bosh and Scotty Barnes in 2021. And then, of course, if the Raptors just end up where they're projected to slate at number 6, that would be ideal too, because I think they can still get a nice player at that pick. What would be disastrous, I think, is if the Raptors fall short and bad luck strikes them again and they don't end up keeping their pick for this year. I know in essence, that means they are officially off the leash. Then they have their picks moving on from here. But like I just said, I think the Raptors want to add as much talent as they can now, coming off the type of season that they did and in the midst of this rebuild. So we won't know until Sunday. And the Raptors will not know until those ping pong balls fall. It'll be interesting to see who the Raptors select to represent them. I would say let it be Scotty Barnes. I mean, I could see Garrett Temple being there to represent the Raptors. Whoever it is, I hope they bring the Raptors luck. And I hope we're here next Thursday. And I tell you guys, the Raptors won the 2024 NBA Draft Lottery. Or at the very least, they keep their top 6 pick. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be anxious. It's going to be nerve-wracking. 3 p.m. It's going to go by quick. We'll find out if the Raptors indeed keep their top 6 pick or not. And then we will discuss what they do in either outcome, if they keep it or they don't. So we will see. But guys, let me know. Are you nervous about Sunday? What is your gut instinct? Do you think the Raptors are going to keep their pick or not? Or do you think, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you're feeling, honestly. At this point, I mean, if I have to tell you how I'm feeling, given the Raptors' current track record of luck, it has not been a good year, but they're due. I think this team is due for a break. So it would be nice to finally have that break with this draft lottery. And I'm being optimistic here, surprisingly, because usually I'm the one who's pessimistic. But I am going to be optimistic, and I am going to say the Raptors will go their way, and they will keep their pick. We'll see. I'm not trying to jinx anything, by the way. I'm just kind of trying to put some positivity out there. But yeah, let me know what you're feeling inside. But yeah, guys, that's going to conclude today's pod. Let me know your full thoughts on all the topics discussed today. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, share this. And again, leave us a 5-star review wherever you get this podcast on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify. That is it for me. I'll be back with another pod next Thursday. I'll be back Sunday, actually, giving you my immediate reaction to what happens in the draft lottery. And we will go from there. But thank you guys so much for watching. As always, this is Luca signing off. Till next time, stay safe.